Hare Krishna. So we are reading from chapter 9, verse 27. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yad juhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, person of Kunti, as an offering to me. So this verse is Karma Yoga verse. This is not a Bhakti Yoga verse. So you should understand this is Karma Yoga because there is action, normal action. Something we do, something we eat, something we donate, some austerities we do, all Karma Yoga. So Krishna is saying, do it for me. Do it as an offering to me. Thus, it is a duty of everyone to mold his life in such a way that he will not forget Krishna in any circumstance. So this is Karma Yoga, wherein, what is Karma Yoga? Karma Yoga is connection with Krishna. Connection with Krishna through karma is Karma Yoga. So one has a propensity to work. If one has a propensity to work, propensity means that he cannot prevent himself or he cannot not work. Such a person, he has an inclination to do work, so he will work. But he will always do everything for Krishna. That is Karma Yoga. So in any circumstance, he will not forget Krishna, though he is working. Bhakti Yogi does everything directly for Krishna. He is not doing any work outside direct Krishna consciousness. But a Karma Yogi will do some work which might be connected to this material world, but he will somehow try to connect everything to Krishna. Prabhupada is saying everyone has to work for maintenance of his body and soul together. And Krishna recommends herein that one should work for him. Everyone has to eat something to live, therefore he should accept remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna. Any civilized man has to perform some religious ritualistic ceremonies. Any civilized man has to perform some religious ritualistic ceremonies. But unfortunately in Kali Yuga, there is no civilized man because people don't perform any religious ritualistic ceremonies. But Krishna is saying, okay, those who perform, those who are civilized, is saying, do it for me. So this is called Archana. Everyone has a tendency to give something in charity. Krishna says, give it to me. And this means that this is very, very important. All surplus money accumulated should be utilized in furthering the Krishna consciousness movement. Now, literally, so question needs to be asked is, what are we doing? Are we doing Karma Yoga? Are we doing Bhakti Yoga? What are we doing? Anybody wants to answer? What are we doing? Are we doing Karma Yoga? Are we doing Bhakti Yoga?
Not able to do Karma Yoga also probably, I think.
To do Karma Yoga. Okay, Madhura Mataji is saying Bhakti Yoga. So what do we decide? What do we say?
Since we are working outside, it comes under the category of Karma Yoga, as per the explanation.
Yeah. So it is actually Karma Yoga, but alongside we are also doing Bhakti. So we are trying to follow two paths. Through Karma, we are also trying to connect with Krishna, and through Bhakti also we are trying to connect with Krishna. Through Bhakti, we know Navavida Bhakti, direct devotion, service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, etc. And through Karma also we are trying to connect with Krishna. Now, if we are trying to connect with Krishna through Karma, what should we do? Prabhupada is saying here, all surplus money accumulated should be used to further the Krishna consciousness movement. And Srila Rupa Goswami gave us the standard, 50% to be offered to Krishna. How easy is it to do that? And it is very, very important for grihasthas. Very, 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 I can't stress it enough. This 50% business is very, very important, because the more we offer to Krishna, the more we become pure. Actually, we work because we want to enjoy the results of the work, actually. Of course, there are very rare souls who just do it just for the sake of maintenance. But most people, even devotees to a great extent, they work, but they want to use the results for themselves. So that doesn't become karma yoga. That becomes karma. Karma yoga is when only bare minimum required for maintenance is taken. And the rest, everything, like 25% for emergency, 50% for Krishna, and 25% for whatever current expenses. So if we are trying to connect with Krishna through karma, then we better try to figure out ways and means of increasing this contribution on a monthly basis. Is very important, but for which actually one needs to have faith. Nowadays, people are very much inclined to the meditational process, which is not practical in this age. But if anyone practices meditating on Krishna 24 hours a day by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra around his beats, is surely the greatest meditator and the greatest yogi, as substantiated by the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is saying austerities, you want to do meditation, meditate upon Krishna. How? By chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So we most important thing here is, if you're doing karma yoga, we better do it nicely. If you're doing bhakti yoga, we better do it nicely. See, this is the big difference between Indians and other people from other countries. Generally, at least I've seen Europe and US. Mostly, they're all very, very. If they take up something, they'll just put 100% into it. Indian mentality is somewhat defense. We prefer defense in everything that we do. Okay, it's okay. I will keep one leg here in karma yoga, one leg there in bhakti yoga, and slowly let me see how things go. But in other countries, people will say, okay, bhakti yoga, yes, that's it. Okay, sarva dharman pratyaja, okay, done. What about your living? I don't know. Krishna is saying sarva dharman parityaja. They will say, yeah, Krishna is saying, but but we also need to do. They'll say, no, Krishna is saying, so I'll do it. I will just depend on him. So very difficult, very tall order, high level of faith on Krishna. But if we don't have that level of faith, we should try to do the practice properly. At least try to offer. Of course, then this whole discussion about what is want, what is need will start. And normally people in this material world live for wants, not for needs. Dil mange more. So then where do you draw the line? Before somebody would have come to Krishna consciousness, already there's so much of expectation that has been set, so much of loan, etc. Then, we spend our lives repaying that. Otherwise, we go and buy stuff. We want to buy a house, we want to buy a car, and so on and so forth. And we spend money for that. So this is a different direction of conversation, right? Then somebody will ask, okay, is a house required? Should I buy a house? Should I invest in a house? Yeah, maybe if you want to, but not such that you will spend the rest of your life repaying the loan. That is ridiculous, isn't it? And we'll say, no. See, this is the standard now. So I'm working very hard so that, I can increase my pay. So it's an endless loop. So yeah, we should just be satisfied with whatever Krishna gives. Not the whole criteria is that we should not over endeavor for any of these things. Like, for example, see, if somebody has crores of rupees, no, obviously we will not go and tell him saying that, okay, don't worry, don't build a house. Say, like, I don't have to even really think about building a house, as in I have like multiple of them. So we don't go and tell him saying that don't waste your energy and money in building a house. Because he already has enough of it. But for somebody who doesn't, and trying to do something like that is a big investment, one has to be careful whether it's absolutely required or not. So again, careful consideration, clear advice from, Vaishnavas who have made progress, who have gone through those, phases of life. It's important that we don't get entangled with these material things. So we should do karma yoga, not karma. When we engage in all these activities, it will become karma, because in the name of Krishna consciousness, and we will say, yeah, I'm building the house for Krishna. Why for Krishna? What does that mean? Who can answer? What do you mean building a house for Krishna? What does it mean to say building a house for Krishna? Okay, or let me put it this way. How should you build a house such that it is built for Krishna? If suppose say we have to build a house. I'm not saying temple, I'm saying house specifically. Any thoughts? No thoughts? How should we build a house for Krishna?
Like he should be the center, like what are activities are being carried out in the house. It should be for the benefit of Krishna.
Yeah, but I'm talking about building a house. You are talking about living in a house, right? I'm saying if you are building a house, suppose say you're thinking, okay, I need to build a house. How does a person in Krishna consciousness think when he's thinking about building a house, he or she? What is the criteria?
Anukulesa Sankalpa, like will it help me to further Krishna consciousness, or will I go down if I have to put more efforts?
Okay, that's one consideration.
All the people having Krishna consciousness can live in that house.
Okay. But that's okay. Is this helping you to decide, for example, should I build a 30, 40? Should I build a 60, 40? How much space do I require? Is it helping? I'm asking a practical question. I'm saying I am deciding, okay, I need to buy some land for a house and blah, blah. Now, how do I think as a devotee?
I think we should have place for all the places, right? So like we should have place for cows, have
Cows for
place
house.
for farms.
Okay. Okay, we do it with devotional love. No, it's very vague, Shamita Mataji. I mean, we need to buy land. I mean, how can I decide what land? What does devotional love means? Don't understand. Sir Vaishnavas, what does that mean, Rupa Mataji? I mean, I don't know why you all you can participate. You can unmute and speak. Yeah, Harnath Prabhu.
First is how much we are without loans.
Sorry, I am not able to hear you clearly.
Something. Basically, like how much we are without loans and how much we are having.
Okay, so Prabhu is giving a financial angle to it. Okay. Okay, so most important thing is why will Krishna need a house? Okay, no, then we don't need to build a temple also for Krishna. No, so basically the consideration is, remember Bhaktivinoda Thakur, right? So he said, what is Grihastha's house? Grihastha's house is a temple. So which means that what should be the house used for? House must be used for preaching. House must be used to get people, invite people, neighbors, etc., etc. They should all come together. We should be able to have programs. We should be able to distribute prasadam. We should be able to do kirtan. So for all this, we need to have a nice place where, say, there's a nice altar, enough space, so like big enough place where people can gather, which means mostly the hall or living area. Normally, how people build houses is that the rooms are big. For a Krishna conscious setup, who needs the rooms to be big? We don't need the rooms to be big. We don't need rooms to even have carts, for example. Like I have this, my daughter thinks that we are all sophisticated, so we should have carts. And I say, why? Just simply blocking the usage of a room with cart. Just knock off the cart, have some mattress, so then you can fold and put it away, and then the whole room is available to be used. So then that way you don't need like a palatial room. You just need room big enough for you to sleep and your normal activities in the room. So like that, so how we even think about what design, how much space, etc., etc. Like for example, then you might think about, say, having some flowers, putting some place for vegetables, etc., so that you can home grow some of this stuff. Like so, see, the whole point is that when everybody thinks about building a house, and then you have to think about a design, etc., etc., it has to be Krishna conscious. And of course, like Harnath Prabhu very rightly said, my financial considerations, how much can I do without taking a loan, or with minimal loan, in case. So for example, right, you need to put up a shed, like some covered area, like you're building the house in the ground floor, and then it's a small site, and then say maybe on the first floor terrace you need to cover it up so that you can have program there. Then maybe you might have to invest slightly more. But these are Krishna conscious considerations. This is not for our own enjoyment, right? So, and this is how a devotee needs to think, right? And money, absolutely, how can I use every penny of it as much as? And maintenance, what is maintenance? Maintenance is only, okay, I need food. Okay, what kind of food? I need food that will keep me healthy. Okay, so I need to, whatever Prabhupada said, that you should eat nicely. Food should be healthy and wholesome. Okay, done. No restriction on food. Get the best quality, offer nice food stuff to Krishna, honor prasadam, be healthy. Okay, required, whatever is required is required. Clothes, I don't know, right? As in, somebody was asking me, yatra, going on yatra, people are asking how many clothes, how many sets of clothes should I get? It's like a 10-day yatra, including, 4 days of travel, 3.5, 4 days of travel. I said, if Prabhu's, you can get 3 or 4 sets, that's enough. Mataji's, I don't know. Right? So, how many clothes do we need? Not much. Do we have to spend for it? No, once in a year, maybe, if at all, if something is torn or something, not required, right? So yeah, so clothes also not much expense. Eating out anyway doesn't exist for us, so we don't have to worry. Going out, yes, we should keep money for yatras, so that we can go, go with other devotees and increase our absorption in Krishna consciousness. We should have money for that. What else do we need money for? Our monthly expenses. We covered food, clothing, not much. Periodic, and of course, yeah, health. Yeah, if at all, some insurance is absolutely required in this age, because otherwise, if we are surrendered, then we won't do it. But grihasthas, generally, we try to plan some of these things, so one can have insurance and pay the premium, not like LIC and all that, medical insurance. Because if you at all, if at all we have to go to a hospital for any reason, people just flees, right? So yeah, I mean, ideally we should not go to hospital, but that's not really in our hands. But yeah, so maybe some insurance. What else? Arnatru, with 2 kids, okay, some education. Yeah, some maybe education fees. Yeah, yeah. So that's it, right? As in, uh, we just know that these categories exist, and whatever is actual expenses for these, we do it. And then anything over and above this is sense gratification. Anything over and above this, right? Because see, inviting devotees home, food, right? It is part of food expense, and of course, archana, and like getting flowers and this, that, and all that. I'm just including. So anything else apart from this will possibly be just sense gratification, right? So karma yoga means basically, if you want to do karma yoga, then yes, work absolutely, but use as little as required for personal stuff, and use the rest for Krishna, of course. And then there are different things, like some people will save money so that they can come out of their jobs earlier, etc., which is okay, which is allowed, as long as our consciousness is clear. But earning a lot of money, spending, uh, spending for expensive clothes, and unnecessary trips, travels, etc., all this is not Krishna conscious. It's not karma yoga, it's karma. So we have to be very careful while we are engaged. Obviously we are engaged in karma, huge amount of our time, right? Like literally in a day, what, 2 hours, 2.5 hours we are doing bhakti. The remaining hours we are doing karma. So we better use this time properly, right? Otherwise we are just wasting our time, and at the same time we are accumulating karma phala, which is absolutely not good, right? It will just bind us. So this verse is very, very important. We need to like really think hard and figure out, saying that what activities of mine actually, while I was thinking that they are karma yoga, but they don't seem to be karma yoga, but they seem to be more like karma. So we need to cut out all this, and then somehow make time for more bhakti. So the whole idea, the idea of Grihastha Ashrama is karma yoga. Bhakti yoga has to keep on increasing. Karma yoga has to go on decreasing. While by the time we come to Vanaprastha, karma yoga becomes 0, and full time goes to bhakti yoga. This is the suppose this is the design, right? The Lord has given through Varnashrama system. This is what has been given. So one is karma itself has to reduce. And of course, I keep saying this. Stri dharma doesn't allow women to work outside, because that's not their dharma. But anyway, I mean, each person has their own situations to deal with, and they have to be dealt with. There's no running away from it. But as far as possible, that can be avoided. And and any Prabhu's engaging in karma, make it as little karma and as much karma yoga as possible, and slowly as family move towards more and more bhakti. This is the whole program. This is how we need to live our life. This is how we need to kind of mold our life. Prabhupada, that is why he's saying everyone has to mold his life. Mold his life means not that just let it go as it is going, right? As in its own way, however it wants, whimsically. No, it has to be molded, which means that there is somebody who is molding it, which means that we have to mold our life, not put it on auto mode, auto run, and let it go however it wants. No. And very important for grihasthas, because that is why I am highlighting here, because I mean, if I'm talking to a brahmachari crowd, then I will not say this, because they anyway they don't have to worry about the karoshi joshi, because they are going to be engaged 24 hours in bhakti yoga. So we have to transition from part bhakti, part karma to full bhakti over a period of time. Okay. Any questions? Anybody? Any thoughts? Any doubts? What should we do here? How should we do that? Any practical questions anybody has? Yeah.
Hare Krishna, bro.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, actually, like in Sunday's class also,
Mhm.
like Prabhu was saying, actually, like stability, a stable material life,
Hmm.
where we're having stable material life only, and like basically like perform good spiritual like sadhana, something like that.
Hmm. I don't subscribe to that idea. So we are
It
not,
is actually, yeah,
see,
it is.
yeah, we are not behind stable. We don't know stable or unstable. How do we know whether we are going to be stable or unstable? Right? Bhagavatam doesn't talk about any stable material life. Bhagavatam talks about preservation, self-preservation. There's a big difference between stable material life and self-preservation. Self-preservation means that just keep the body and soul together. That's it. And situation in our life will keep changing. Just make sure that it's altered so that, it's just taken care. That's it. Body is healthy and you're able to just go on with spiritual life. There's no question of stable material life. Actually, that concept doesn't exist in Shastra. There's nothing like stable material life. How do you define stable material life? For me, stable material life might mean, spending 50,000 rupees a month, because I consider that as stable. Now, who will decide whether that is stable, unstable? No, Bhagavatam doesn't say this. Bhagavatam says just do for self-preservation. That's what Bhagavatam says. So our focus also should be like that. See, actually, this is one. Okay, this is a good question. Actually, what Harnath Prabhu has asked. So there are two schools of thought. Let me make it clear. Okay, one school of thought thinks that that if you want something in life, you better give it. You better get it. This is one school of thought. In devotees also, I'm saying, in ISKCON, for example, there are two schools of thought. One school says, okay, you want to get something, okay, give it. It's not very much bhakti. Yeah, it's okay. I want to play sports. It's okay. This is one school of thought, right? Which is thinking that if you don't do this, then mind will never become satisfied. Mind will keep getting perturbed, worked up, and then it will disturb me even more. Okay, this is one school of thought. The other school of thought is saying no, no unnecessary karma, no unnecessary engaging in activities which are not going to further anukulisa sankalpa pratikulisa varjanam. If it is not going to further my bhakti, then I am not going to engage in that. Right? So this is the other school of thought where there are no very serious material considerations. There aren't any serious material considerations because that is the whole idea of surrender, is to depend on Krishna, do whatever we can in the current scheme of things, and leave the rest to Krishna and try to live as per Shastra. So these are two schools of thoughts. Obviously, while you can understand, I subscribe to the second because I never heard of anything apart from that in Prabhupada's books. Whenever I've read Prabhupada's books all these years, I just see that Prabhupada is just talking about the second path, wherein just do whatever is bare minimum required. And what about these desires which are going to trouble us? No, engage in bhakti. So the more we engage in bhakti, there is no scope for these desires to come up. See, there might be one or two desires that might be like very disturbing, right? We can think about catering to those. Like, for example, brahmacharis, whether they want to marry or, remain brahmachari. Yes. If the urge to engage with the other sex is so much that they'll have to marry, then we'll say, okay, marry, because that cannot be prevented. That is too fundamental urge, right? But it's not like, it's not like, say, some other simple material desire that we don't have to go and cater to everything, because mind is crazy. Mind is going to drive us crazy if we keep catering to it, right? So one school says, no, it's okay. I think my body has to be fit. Let me go and play basketball or badminton every day. It is good. It is healthy. But then we ask this question, what is a Vaishnava sport? Because we have to understand from Guru Sadhu Shastra, and Shastra says, Prabhupada has said that swimming and wrestling, these are Vaishnava sports, which can be engaged in, right? But nothing else. So like this, this whole approach has to be based on Guru Sadhu Shastra. Unfortunately, Sadhu Shastra has to be given a lot of predominance. Now in ISKCON today, what is happening is lot more of Guru, my Guru said is coming. Now my Guru said to whom, when, what scenario, nobody's thinking about these things. Prabhupada said so many things, right? But if you take all these things out of context, no way we can understand Prabhupada or what he wants us to follow, right? So everything needs a context. Everything needs, people need to understand statements made in context and then apply it in one's life, not just whimsically take or not looking at it in a holistic manner and simply just taking individual conversations or individual statements as all in all. This is not how one understands a person. So when we read Prabhupada's books, we are trying to understand who Srila Prabhupada is as a person and what he would have said or done. And that is how we have to live. But you can't just take one statement made out of context and then conclude something on a particular topic, right? And this is unfortunately what is going on. A lot of, so we are not talking about stable material life. We are talking about bare minimum self-preservation. That's it, right? And yes, okay. So for example, if you have to live in a city, now then practical considerations come in, right? Okay, so if I need to live in a city. No, wrestling is not hitting someone. Wrestling is not boxing. Wrestling is basically you do for just keeping yourself fit, not to engage in some competition. This is all competitive mindset is all modern, demoniac. Anyway, so the point I was making is, if suppose I have to live in a city, okay, unfortunately I have to live in a city, okay, then I need a place to stay, okay, so we are 4 of us, maybe we need at least minimum 2-bedroom house, because we live comfortably, not in some shed, right? Okay, fine. So then how much will I have to spend? Okay, if I have to, which area am I going to live? Okay, if I'm going to spend 25,000, if I have to spend 20,000 on rent, oh, then that's a lot of money. Right, then, okay, what is it then, then, so thinking in these lines, okay, saying, okay, is this then, which area should I live? Now, all this should be thought in consideration with service that I'm doing, what is my main seva, how is it getting affected, etc., right? So it's not like people, I mean, we should not, karma yoga requires us to think more deeply. Idea is that we don't engage unnecessarily in more and more karma. That is the whole idea. Okay, so think about it. I mean, it's not a prescription, but karma yoga has to be followed properly. That clearly Krishna is saying, do everything as an offering to me, not for your own self, and then just put my label at the end saying that, okay, I did it actually for me, but I'll say for Krishna. That's hypocrisy, right? So we should really do it for Krishna, not for ourselves and label Krishna on that, right? And so we need to think about this. Yeah, and it's like I said, it's a personal choice. Personal choice in the sense whether we want to strictly follow Shastra or we want to give some leeway. Definitely that is our free will. We can decide which way to go. And it's individual's decision. Okay, but Karma Yoga needs to be followed because we are engaging in karma and it needs to be followed well so that we can actually make progress. Like I said, irrespective of whether we are talking about stable life or self-preservation, the whole idea is that eventually we have to move towards more and more time for bhakti. That is the bottom line, which is why I keep saying, Matajis, if you can do without working, you can engage lot more time. You can engage in Krishna consciousness. Prabhu's, unfortunately, no option. We have to work, earn livelihood, etc. So amount of time might be less, but that also has to be slowly and steadily increased. Managed such that time for Krishna consciousness increases. That is the whole key, irrespective of what details we get into. Okay.
Hare Krishna, I'm so sorry.
No, Mataji. Why are you sorry?
I have to find out. So even without we being aware of things, we would be doing karma, right? Like
Yeah.
breathing or having some thoughts or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So that is also considered as karma. So we cannot avoid karma fully. So that's why we have this thing called karma yoga. So doing the right thing becomes important, right? So how can we like uh, so we cannot avoid karma or karma yoga completely,
Ah,
right?
okay. So let me clarify. So in karma, there are actually what is called as naimitika karma. As nitya karma, naimitika karma, and apad dharma. So there are three parts. Krishna talks about this in the third chapter. So this is naimitika karma is like whatever has been recommended to us. So then we go into varnashrama and all that, right? So just to make this conversation easy to understand, so there is nitya, like day in day out whatever we do, right? Like for example, I get up in the morning, I breathe. So breathing is not karma because it's just an activity of the body. I'm not doing it with any intention to sense gratify myself. I just have to live. So breathing is required. I have to eat because I have to keep the body and soul together. So that's also not considered karma. So like this, like brushing my teeth, taking bath, etc., etc. These are not considered. I have to sleep. No, these are not considered karma. Okay, this is just to keep the body and soul together. So these are activities which are acceptable as long as they are being done in a dharmic way, which is also a big question, but I don't want to get into that right now. For example, then we'll go into what toothpaste are we using, etc., etc. But yeah, generally, so these are not considered karma. So when karma is basically engaging in vritti, mainly, right? For example, if somebody is engaged in cooking, no, that's not karma. If it is being done for Krishna, if it is being done for sense gratification, then it becomes karma. Now, like I said, vritti, occupation, if it is not dharmic, then, and if it is being done with a sense for sense gratification, with the intent for sense gratification, only then it becomes karma. Karma doesn't mean not doing action at all. This was Arjuna's question. Arjuna was asking, Are Baba, what are you saying? On one end, you are saying Gnana, on the other end, you are saying do karma yoga. What should I do? I mean, should I do? Should I not do? So Krishna says, do without desire for result, right? Without desire for personal result, personal gratification, and then it doesn't remain karma. It doesn't become karma. Then it becomes yoga if it is done for Krishna. So the idea is not that we should not do any activity at all. The idea is that it should not end up in sense gratification, or it should not be done with an intention for sense gratification. That is the whole idea. That okay?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Clarity on this topic?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So, is it possible for a person engaged in karma yoga to not forget Krishna in any circumstance? Like
Yeah, absolutely possible. Absolutely possible. See, all paths are there. Depends on our current setup, our consciousness, our environment that we are in. Right? Suppose say somebody is in a village setup. Village people were always in yoga only, no? Previously, where there was no nonsense entertainment, no nothing, no light. Once it is dark, then over, right? Then hear Harinam, and then sleep. Get up in the morning early, do your sadhana, go to the field or whatever your work, and whatever you're doing also, what are you doing for? You're doing barter. What do you mean? What does barter mean? That means that I need something for self-preservation. I have this, I don't have this, so I'll get it from somebody else. That's it. And on what basis can you do barter? On what you have. You can't take a loan. So you will just do with whatever you have. So if Krishna has given you a piece of land from which you are getting this much outcome, then you are using that to live your life. That's it, right? And you're totally depending on Krishna because you know that, okay, rain is dependent on Krishna, crops are dependent on Krishna, cow giving milk is dependent on Krishna, everything is dependent on Krishna. So you will always just think about Krishna and say, Krishna, okay, I'm depending on you. So there is no rajas. See, basically the point is that if you live a sattvic life, you will always be thinking about Krishna. There's no way that you will not think about Krishna, because there's nothing else to really, as in, there's no distraction. There's no distraction. When Rajas and Tamas come in is when the lower modes come in and they distract us. So because we are in this city setup, we will wonder, when you're saying, is this even possible? Absolutely possible, but not the way we are engaged in karma. This is all Ugra karma, what we are engaged in. City life means Ugra karma. Because first thing is, that karma, nature of karma itself is so Ugra that Ugra means what? It just disturbs us, isn't it?
Yes.
Disturbing occupations. And then of course the results are also used in disturbing, for disturbing causes. So yeah, city kind of life is very difficult. If somebody gets an opportunity to go and live in a farm community or a village, that is blessing, right? Otherwise, somehow we manage and focus. That is why the focus needs to be on utilizing that for Krishna. Then it's okay. Where we live, what we do, it doesn't matter. We might be in hell, but we are engaged in Krishna, spreading Krishna consciousness. That's okay, right? So the focus really needs to be Krishna. So that is why we don't speak so much about karma yoga and all that. But the idea is that because we are earning, bring the focus to Krishna. Bring the focus on spending that money for Krishna. Bring the focus on preaching. Bring the focus on, using that money to spread Krishna consciousness. Then it's okay. Then it doesn't matter that much. Because it will anyway purify. It will purify. It will seriously purify. Earning gets purified. Consciousness gets purified. And slowly and steadily we'll say, okay, this is not what I want to do. And then somehow Krishna's mercy will come to full devotional service.
Yeah. Okay, please. Thank you. So, Praji, is it possible to achieve perfection in Krishna consciousness by karma yoga if one stays in
karma yoga, no. See, no perfection can happen without bhakti. Karma yoga will not bring us to Krishna prema. Karma yoga will bring us to the platform of bhakti. So if somebody is engaged in karma yoga alone without bhakti, then he cannot achieve Krishna. But karma yoga will bring him to bhakti.
Yeah.
See, yoga here, though there is connection with Krishna, but the predominant focus is karma. But the predominant focus has to move from karma to bhakti for us to achieve love of Krishna. So that karma yogi also has to come to bhakti only. But that is why I was saying, for us also, we have karma yoga. Now 90% karma yoga, 10% bhakti yoga. Next, 80% karma yoga, 20% bhakti yoga. 50% karma yoga, 50% bhakti yoga. 30% karma yoga, 70% bhakti yoga. 10% karma yoga, 90% bhakti yoga. 0% karma yoga, 100% bhakti yoga. This should be our path.
Yes, Praji. In farm, so if they are growing vegetables and all other activities, what they are doing, it's like it's done to increase Krishna consciousness, right? That
it's not done to increase Krishna consciousness. It's done for maintenance. But it is done with a Krishna consciousness, right? And in the association of other devotees, in a non-rajasic and tamasic way, in terms of how the land is plowed, etc., etc. And consciousness is depends more on Krishna than self-effort. And of course, the community is because it is Krishna centered around Krishna and Krishna conscious activities. So there's more focus on culture and sattvic lifestyle along with bhakti, right? So it's amazing. What can I say?
So it becomes bhakti yoga, right? More than karma yoga.
Yeah, but as long as if you are just like bhakti yoga simply means just bhakti. Where will food come? I don't know. The bhakti yoga means just bhakti, right? But if suppose say you are growing all this for Krishna, for offering to Krishna, not for maintaining your own body and soul together, right? Then it is bhakti, right? Because then you will use it for archanam or some other. See, bhakti means very simple to understand. Prabhu, Navavidha bhakti. If one is like Madhavendra Puri, was he worried about his food? Was he thinking like, okay, I have to grow my own food? No, if Krishna gives, I will eat. Otherwise, I won't eat.
Okay.
This is bhakti. We can't imitate, but I'm just saying, trying to clarify that till we are trying to do things to take care of our body, we are doing karma.
Okay.
But it has to be as pure as possible, right? And as less contaminated as possible. Then the contamination will not take us away from bhakti. That is the important point. Like Mataji was saying, it's not like we may or may not be able to cut off karma from our life, but the idea is, that is why I was saying that bhakti has to increase. Whether karma decreases or not is secondary. It will automatically happen, but I'm saying it's secondary consideration.
Yeah. Yes, clear, Paji. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. That is why last class I said that 2.9.27 purport is very small, but practical application is very big. It takes a lot of effort to, be able to apply these verses in our life. I mean, Prabhupada has written one statement: surplus money accumulated should be utilized. Now, what does this mean? How do we go about it? It requires a lot of contemplation. Okay, fine. Then we'll close for today. We can continue next week. Unless Shamita Mataji, you have anything to ask?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
So now, on the basis what you said now, that sleeping or breathing or these things are not or eating food are not categorized as karma, then even an animal is not doing karma, right?
No,
So
animal is not doing karma at all.
so if
Animal
we are
is
not
just
doing any karma, then we can what is it that putting us away from achieving God? Right? Karma is something, by doing karma only we are falling apart from him, right?
Correct. So who are you talking about? Human beings?
In general.
No. Human beings, now that's what we're discussing, right? If I have to eat, then what am I going to do to get food? I'm working.
Yes.
That is karma. Working is karma. Eating is not karma. Eating Krishna Prasadam is not karma. Eating non-Krishna Prasadam is karma.
Okay.
Right? Breathing, there is no difference, because there's nothing like sattvic breathing or non-sattvic breathing or anything like that, right? There are no categories there, right? But wearing clothes, for example, absolutely there's in Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. Everything else has gunas, right? Food, if it is not Krishna conscious, if it is not prasadam, then it's karmic. If something is not connected to Krishna, I was mentioning breathing specifically because breathing doesn't have any categories, right? Like, cannot say that breathing is in mode of goodness, passion, ignorance, but everything, literally everything else, right, has modes. And ideally, the whole life has to be molded around Sattva Guna. So the more we live as in Sattva Guna, the more it will bring us to Krishna. That is the understanding. The more we are in Rajoguna and Tamoguna, the more it will take us away from Krishna. Animals is a different thing. Animals don't have anything like any option, right? Like, the animal is in a particular body, next life it has to get another body, and that is predetermined. It doesn't have any freedom to change its future, or there's no free will. But human beings, we have free will, so we can decide whether I want Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. So if I want Sattva-guna, then there is a lot more chance that I'm going to come to Krishna than if I'm engaging in activities in Rajoguna and Tamoguna. So when we say reduce karma, first option is to reduce Tamoguna and Rajoguna karma and bring it to Sattva-guna karma, and slowly bring down Sattva-guna karma also. But if we are remaining in Rajoguna, Tamoguna karma, then it's not going to help us. And then for understanding that, we need to understand last 3-4 chapters of Bhagavad Gita nicely, right? From 14, 15, 16, 14, 16, 17, 18, we need to understand nicely for us to really understand what these modes are, and what mode am I in predominantly, etc., etc. So we'll understand what kind of activities we are doing, where we are, etc. Is it clear?
Yes, Prabhuji, it's clear now. Thank you so much.
Okay, then we will close for today. Those who are not asking, if you have questions, kindly you're concerned discussing here, please put it on the group, because these concepts, see, the idea why we are doing Bhagavad Gita is because these concepts have to become very, very crystal clear in our head, right? Like we should see, my focus is Prabhupada as it is, Bhagavad Gita as it is, no contamination, no modern borrowed thoughts, right? Or whatever, like, mixed up, manipulated thoughts. No, straight from Prabhupada's purpose. It should be straight from Prabhupada's purpose, because then we won't have any confusion about what to do, what not to do. Like, it's very clear when we hear somebody speaking, somebody giving class. Now, I know I will evaluate against what I've heard from Prabhupada, right? And if it is not in line with what I've heard from Prabhupada, I will not accept it, because to me, it is not in line with Sadhu and Shastra. So we have to read and understand Prabhupada's books so clearly that we should be able to distinguish this, discriminate, right? The real versus the look-alike. And it's unfortunately, I mean, it's, so this is something that I've been telling for many people is, please be aware of whom you are hearing from. Okay, and for you to be aware of whom you are hearing from, you should have first read yourself. If you're not read yourself, how do you know if whom you are hearing from is in line or not? While it might all look very appealing, it might all look very appealing, very, nicely presented, etc. Nice, but that's not the point. The point is whether it is as per Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. How will we evaluate? We should have read Prabhupada's books ourselves. And that is the whole reason we are doing this Bhagavad Gita study, is because the idea is that everybody should become very, very familiar with what Prabhupada has written in his books. So we should read Bhagavad Gita 100 times for us to understand this, right? I mean, really, I don't know. I must have read at least 20, 25 times. Even with all that, we will not able to understand everything, but at least what we will know is, we will know statements. We will know that, okay, Prabhupada has made this statement. Prabhupada has made this statement. Okay, I'm hearing something. I don't think that this statement I've read in Prabhupada's books. This is very good basis to start with, right? At least we know what is there in Prabhupada's books, what is not there in Prabhupada's books. Very strong foundation. Then slowly, as we practice, we apply, we serve Krishna, that Gnana becomes converts to Vijnana, then we'll be able to practically understand concepts, etc., etc. That will take time. But at least we should have read Prabhupada's books from, start to end, paka, multiple times. That is the whole idea. So please read, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavad Gita Sevaya, everything has to happen. Okay. Already it's too late. I'm just going on and on and on. Thank you very much. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Samaveta gaura bhakta vrindi ki jai. Hare Krishna.